Hello everyone, I'm Sagar Khatri. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Multiplier. Great to be here. Today we would be talking about a very interesting topic, which is the power of distributed workforce and the potential that it has to create millions of jobs for South American economy. So let's start with analyzing what distributed workforces are, right? Distributed workforces is an operating system where you don't have a concept of a headquarter. Your entire workforce is distributed in many countries. You are fully decentralized. When you think about adding one more member to the team in a distributed setup, you don't associate that hiring to a particular country. When you think about, for example, let's say you're a Brazilian business, and if you operate in a fully distributed setting, you want to hire a marketing person, you don't think about hiring that marketing person in Brazil. You just think about hiring the best marketing person no matter where in the world, period. If you find that person in the US, then you'll hire them in the US. If you find them in Peru, you'll hire them in Peru. So in a distributed workforce setting, you have the ability to hire the best person no matter where they are located. Now, what is driving this adoption of distributed workforce? There are three key drivers behind why companies today are adopting distributed workforce. The most important driver is talent crunch. Now, what is talent crunch, right? If you think about any economy in the world, any country in the world, they have certain jobs that the country produces. And then similarly, correspondingly, they have the workforce that they have in their country. Now, no country in the world has a one-to-one mapping between their jobs and their workforce. Let's say I come from Singapore. In Singapore, we require 100,000 software developers every year. So companies in Singapore require 100,000 software developers every year, but universities in Singapore only produce 4,000 software developers. So we have a talent crunch of 96,000 software developers, and Singapore is a very, very small country. Bring it to US economy level and you'll realize how pronounced talent crunch as a problem is, right? There's a Korn Ferry report which you see on the slide which says by 2030 there'll be a skilled talent shortage of 85.2 million workers globally. And to quantify or understand what that means is in dollar terms, it will lead to a loss of an unrealized revenue of $8.5 trillion. Now that's a big number. It's bigger than the combined economy of Germany and Japan. And in that report, a very interesting point to note is the report says there's only one country in the world where talent will not be deficit, but it will be surplus, which is India. But even that assumption has not come true. Even, we work with so many Indian companies who are finding it extremely difficult to get talent in India as well. So the report says there's only one country which will have talent surplus, but even that country is suffering from talent deficit. So that's how pronounced the talent deficit problem is. The other two drivers of why distributed workforces are becoming very popular, one is the proliferation of remote working tools. Now, if you think about, go back 5-10 years, where we didn't have Zoom, we didn't have LinkedIn, we didn't have Slack. The only tool that we had, if we wanted to talk to somebody who is not sitting in front of us, was Skype, and it never worked. So really, sometimes we tend to underestimate how fast things move. So all these remote working tools or collaboration tools is literally a 5 to 7 year phenomena. And before that, we couldn't operate in a remote setting. So proliferation of remote working tools, Zoom, Slack, notion has really helped us being connected to our team, be able to work from anywhere, and operate in a fully distributed setting. The third driver for this is anti-globalization. If again I come from Singapore, Singapore does not have enough talent, and Singapore does not allow enough talent to come inside from neighboring countries. The approach, take US example for example, America first, Americans first. That doesn't allow for you to bring labor inside from other markets, and hence if you have talent crunch, you don't have enough people yourself, and you are not letting people come in from outside, it's just going to pronounce the crunch that you're facing, right? So the three main drivers: talent crunch, proliferation of remote working tools, and anti-immigration laws. But let's look at what's happening to globalization, right? The definition of globalization is changing. Back in the day, globalization meant an American MNC wants to expand to Brazil, sell their products in Rio, which was access to demand markets. But today, globalization means something totally different. Globalization means I'm living in Brazil, I want to hire a marketing person, I cannot find it, and hence I go to US and hire that person. It's not access to demand markets, it's access to talent markets. So every company is going global from day one because they don't have the talent that they need in the markets that they operate. There are 5 to 6 reasons why companies go global. One is grow customer base. We are a global company from day one. We have customer base in 50 countries. We are a 2-year-old business. Access talent, which we've already talked about. Have efficiencies, right? Today, cost efficiencies are very, very important. We live in a world where there's a massive emphasis on costs. So if you can operate in US but hire your team in Latin America, you'll have massive cost efficiencies. The other two is portfolio diversification and M&A. If you find a great business that has massive synergies with your business, you can go to a new market and acquire them. So what are the benefits of having a distributed workforce? Again, we talked about access to talent pool, so I won't go deep into that again. Cost savings we have talked about as well. Third is greater flexibility. Because you can literally go to the gym at 2 p.m. if you're working in a fully distributed setting, but you can choose to work at your own time. Diversity of perspectives. Again, I was telling you, Multiplier is a fully global organization. We have customers in 50 countries. Our own employees are in 50 countries as well. And if we didn't have that, we will not have the global perspective that our product requires to cater to a global audience. So again, if you want to cater to a global audience, you need to have a global team yourselves, which works best if it's a distributed team. Again, it sounds like it's the best innovation that has happened after the sliced bread, but is it that easy? No, I'll tell you a story, right? I started Multiplier because in my last role, I was trying to expand to this country called Australia. And I'm sure you guys know Australia is one of the developed markets in Asia. And it took 7 months to open a bank account. Then I expanded to Japan. It took 12 months to open a bank account. And these are all developed markets, extremely high GDP per capita. So, hey, there has to be a better solution. And that's what we built. We built Multiplier, where we believe the world is without limits. We believe that no matter where you're born, you can work for the organization that you want to work for. No matter where you're located as a business, you can hire the best talent. We are a global employment platform that helps companies employ talent globally without having to set up their legal entity or worry about payroll benefits and taxes. Our value proposition is very simple. You find the talent, we help you employ the talent. So employ anyone, anywhere in 30 seconds and 3 clicks. I think maybe just the last section of my presentation around what does it mean for South America and what are the learnings that we have learned. So we are roughly 400 people ourselves globally in 45 countries, 60 nationalities, fully remote and distributed. We don't have an office. How do we operate and what have we learned, right? For South America, there are 2 considerations. One is a lot of South American firms who are, Brazil is literally one of the fastest growing tech markets in the world. How can they access talent globally to grow even faster? And how do other companies in developed markets can now replace India and Philippines as their back-end markets and have their workforce in South America? Again, in the interest of time, 3 learnings that we've learned that helps you work better in a fully remote and distributed setting. One is communication. Communication becomes extremely important. Communication is half the work done. Aligning your team to the culture, aligning your team to what the objectives of the business are and what the OKRs are. So operating in an extremely humble manner, operating in an extremely empathetic way, having the team which is eternally optimistic, and they always are ready to ask tough questions, but in a polite manner, right? Again, I think I'm out of time, but I think 2 more things that we've realized is having an extremely inclusive culture is important. At Multiplier, we have a culture of trust, transparency, and thoroughness, where we love to trust people, give them full autonomy, and trust is the currency to do business at Multiplier. Collaboration is very important. If you don't get to see people every day, if you don't get to tap on their shoulders to ask for updates, it's important that you invest in the right collaboration tools. Again, do check us out. We work with some of the best logos in the world. Thank you so much.